We kind of been sneaking around it, but let me ask you from yours, from everything we've been talking about, how do you think about consciousness? Is it a is it a fun little trick that the human mind does, or is it somehow fundamental to this whole thing?
So, this 3 pound lump of jelly inside our craniums that can contemplate the vastness of interstellar space, it can contemplate the meaning of infinity, and it can contemplate itself contemplating on the meaning of infinity, that peculiar self recursive quality that we call self awareness. So, this is the hard problem, right? This is the unknowable, the unknown at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no good answer for that.
But
Aside from
do you
that,
think it's somehow deeply fundamental to the human experience, or is it just a trick? So you have like, I mean, Sam Harris has really been making me think about this. So, calling free will an illusion. The interesting thing about Sam is it's not just a philosophical little chat with him about free will. He really says he experiences the lack of free will. Like he's able to, large parts of the day to feel like he has no free will. In that same way, now he thinks that consciousness is not an illusion. It is, it's a real thing. But at the same, I'm more almost like, I'm almost more of like consciousness seems to be a little bit of an illusion in the sense that like it feels like maybe this is a robotics AI perspective, but it feels like in that same way that Sam steps outside of feeling like he has an agency, feeling like he has a free will. I feel like we should be able to step outside of having a consciousness.
hmm.
So that from my perspective, maybe that's a hopeful perspective for trying to engineer consciousness. But do you think consciousness is like at the core of this, or is it just like language, or almost like a thing we build on top of much deeper human, the things that makes us human?
I don't know. I am attracted to Lanz's notion of biocentrism. I mean, it's difficult to walk away from the double slit experiment not wondering why we seem capable of collapsing that quantum wave function. It's very, very weird,
Yeah.
giving rise to even weirder ideas about superposition and spooky action at a distance and things that MIT guys know a lot better than me. But it seems to me fundamental. I mean, maybe consciousness is the fundamental thing. I mean, weirdly, some of these ancient incubatory practices, I talked about Peter Kingsley before. So he's not a proponent of ancient psychedelic use, but is a proponent of these ancient rites of incubation that were practiced by Pythagoras, Parmenides, Empedocles, other pre-Socratics. And so what were they doing? They were trying to get in touch with consciousness. They were entering into suspended states of animation in these cave-like settings. Pythagoras had built one in his basement and would lie down motionless, apparently, for long periods of time. And what I think they were trying to do was tap into and trying to answer this question in their own, you could call it a scientific way, actually, less religion than science. And what they would discover or try to discover was a state of awareness that is somehow beyond life and death, beyond waking and dreaming, where you can be aware of the senses, but also in touch with another reality at the exact same time, what Kingsley calls sensation. That, I think, is definitely worth exploring.
Well, and the way I hope to explore is by trying to build it. But everybody uses the tools they have. Well, no, I do also hope psychedelics can help,
So,
but
how do you build that? I'm curious.
that's a whole nother discussion. This is there's a lot of things I could say here, but let me put simply is I believe that you can go a long way building towards building consciousness by trying to fake consciousness. So fake it till you make it as an engineering approach, I think will work for consciousness. There's,
You seem satisfied with that.
I'm satisfied with that because I know how deeply unsatisfied others are, but just wait. So I mean, I don't know what to. So most the topic of consciousness is mostly handled by philosophers currently, and that's great. And their philosophers are wonderful and good at what they do. I'm not a philosopher. I'm an engineer, and I think the approach there is quite different. I think falling in love is different than trying to have a podcast conversation about what is love. You know, I think the engineering effort is just fundamentally different than the philosophical effort. And I have a sense that consciousness can be engineered even before it is understood by the philosophers. So I think there's a bunch of things like that in this world that could be engineered before they're understood. I think the intelligence is one such thing. I think we'll be able to engineer super intelligent beings before we're able to understand the human mind. That's yeah. I mean, there's a lot of intuition to unpack there of why that is, but as it stands, that's perhaps my engineering optimism and engineering ethic under which I operate. Consciousness is easy to build, hard to understand. Okay.